Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tousi TV. This is your global news channel. I'm Tousi, and the Supreme Leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Ali Khamenei, has cancelled his public speech to the Air Force last minute, and he has now moved to a new location on unknown site. Over the last few weeks, he's changed his location a couple of times. During the uprising, he was in the eastern parts of Iran near Tabbas, in an underground bunker. He then came out, he went back to his compound in the center of the capital in Tehran. Over the last couple of weeks, he was basically in the bunker itself, underneath his palace. He did come out, and today he was supposed to be making a public speech. He's now been moved to another location, and they've said that due to security concerns, things may have happened if he was out in public. Now, we're going to talk about all that, but firstly, we're going to talk about what's going on with the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, the oil tankers, but also 3 Iranian oil tankers near India, and of course the mobilization by the US military and the Israeli Defense Forces as well. All right, we're going to get your reaction live as usual. First, let's talk about India's Coast Guard that successfully seized 3 of Iran's oil tankers, but the vessels were linked to the Islamic Republic, to the west of Mumbai. Al Jazeera, Asphalt Star, and Stella Ruby. All 3 have now been seized by Prime Minister Modi. Of course, this was the message from the Americans over the last couple of weeks that not only if anybody does any business with the IRGC, you're going to be in trouble, but also it would be good if you could help us. So countries like UAE and India have been cooperative, which is quite good. And it's not really a good sign for the Chinese Communist Party and their allies in Iran, because the disruption when it comes to the oil networks and the oil supply is quite visible at this point. Meanwhile, Steve Witkoff, the US negotiator, and Jared Kushner, earlier in the week, a couple of days ago, they were in Oman, in Muscat, to speak with not actually the IRGC, but the Omanis, because there was no direct negotiations. They were just talking about the talks. Afterwards, firstly, they also brought in Admiral Brad Cooper of Central Command to Muscat, which was interesting. But after that, they all went on USS Abraham Lincoln. Let me just quickly show you this symbolic move by Kushner and Witkoff, and then the retaliation by the Islamic Republic, which is absolutely hilarious. First, let's go to USS Abraham Lincoln. So that's when they arrived. This is to, again, prepare the mindset that while there are technically negotiations going on, we are proactive. So everybody was there. It is interesting that over the last few days, the statements and broadcast from or about USS Abraham Lincoln has been quite proactive. The first couple of weeks, there wasn't really much update on that because especially at some point it was off the radar anyway. But when it came up and they wanted to send a message that USS Abraham Lincoln is now within strike. Well, Iran is within strike of USS Abraham Lincoln. What is going on with the live chat? This person keeps shouting my name. Why are you shouting my name? Just literally copy and pasting. Okay, we're going to have to, unfortunately, ban the spammer. If you copy and paste, you will get banned, obviously. Having said that, their statements about USS Abraham Lincoln have been quite proactive over the last few days to send a message, but the retaliation from the Islamic Republic is also funny because the Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi also decided to do something similar after Kushner and Witkoff went on the aircraft carrier. It wasn't as powerful. He just went on a boat in the Persian Gulf. What is this? He's on a cruise ship. He's on a ferry. What is that supposed to be intimidating? Is it supposed to be powerful? Is it supposed to say, "Whoa, yeah"? So Witkoff and Kushner went on USS Abraham Lincoln. What should we do? Let's get on a dinghy. Let's find the smallest boat possible and put the foreign minister. The reason they had to find a small boat because the foreign minister himself is tiny. Look how tiny he is. He's a mini foreign minister. That's why they had to do this. But this is supposed to be essentially countering what the Americans did. Now, the US Air Force, tonight is a big night, of course, Super Bowl. But US Air Force made the announcement earlier on that US Air Force have now pulled their F-22s from the Super Bowl, because they were supposed to be obviously doing a flyover, due to urgent missions, active military missions. They have now confirmed that F-22 Raptors have been pulled from the scheduled flyover on the 8th of February due to an increase in operational tempo and specific operational assignments. Now, there was no details in terms of the statements about which parts of any sort of active operation that they are talking about. There's a lot of speculations about the F-22s going towards the Middle East because there's not much else happening in terms of any active operations around the world by the US Air Force. I mean, there have been some actions over the last few weeks about Syria and a number of other places, but we're not really sure exactly where they will be deployed, but they are now they've been diverted to active duty missions. So we will find out what we might see and also what they will be replacing them with for Super Bowl tonight. That will be interesting to see as well. But as I said, Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, was supposed to be making a public speech today. Finally, after days and weeks of hiding, but last minute he cancelled the public speech to the to the Islamic Republic Air Force, and he has now been moved to another unknown location. As I said, he's changed his location a couple of times, 3 times probably at this point, as far as we know, in terms of the announcements by the Islamic regime of Iran. First, he was near Tabbas during the uprising. Then he was in his own compound underneath in Tehran. And now he came out and he was supposed to be out in public, but he's not. So they moved him somewhere else. We don't know where. But they are saying due to security concerns. There were some allegations of assassination attempts. I don't believe that. I mean, there's always assassination attempts anyway, like fears of it at least, but I don't think there was anything that was imminent. You never know, but I think they're just completely paranoid, and they have to be paranoid at this point. Meanwhile, the foreign minister of the Islamic Republic, Abbas Araghchi, mini foreign minister, has now claimed that there are unexploded US bombs inside the nuclear facilities in Iran. The nuclear sites that the Americans hit, especially obviously Fordo last year, some of the 14-ton bunker busters apparently failed to detonate. According to the Islamic Republic, that also includes Tomahawk cruise missiles. They say that they have unexploded bombs in their possession. Now, theoretically, you can use the unexploded bombs they could be reverse engineered. But whether they are telling the truth or not, that's a whole different matter, because this revelation only randomly came out today, last night and today. could have come out over the last 6-7 months, but it didn't. I don't believe it, but it's very, very convenient, considering also the type of explosions that we had. It obviously it does happen. You do have unexploded bombs that in life, but not the way they were dropping the bombs. I mean, everything would have exploded anyway. So maybe they're bluffing. Maybe they're telling the truth. Why would they even? If they actually want to do any sort of reverse engineering, they would just do it instead of threatening it. But it's best to keep some element of surprise, right? So I don't believe they have that, but you never know. And meanwhile, the IRGC have changed their tactics, and they are doing what Hamas in Gaza have been doing for years and years. So they are now in several provinces and regions across Iran are using, they've made their headquarters for the IRGC in public buildings, including schools, hospitals, mosques, and other government buildings. This is fascinating because we know what the plan is. It's quite obvious. We've dealt with these guys since 1979 in Iran. What they tend to do is not necessarily even like Hamas in Gaza in that sense, because most normal civilians in Iran, once they know there's going to be an attack, they evacuate the areas anyway. But it's not really to use civilians as human shields. It's to use the optics. So there will be schools that will be destroyed, and then they will show the pictures of the schools, and then they will show you some random dead bodies of children saying, look, the Americans have been hitting schools, or the Israelis have been hitting schools or hospitals. That's the point of it. And they essentially do hide in plain sight, which is not really a good idea, because that also means that you are going to be an easy target anyway. But the idiots who are part of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they've been brainwashed to become martyrs, right? So they are going to be slaughtered. And they are willing to be slaughtered because they are loyal to their dear leader, Ali Khamenei. It's a very, very bad move. You need all your resources and your personnel. This is not the time to have martyrs, you absolute idiots. Keep everybody alive. Don't put them in the middle of the school. That's not a good idea. Keep everybody in your tunnels. But they don't listen because they're idiots. Now, speaking of idiots, the IRIB, the state TV of the Islamic Republic, decided to broadcast a footage from 2022. This is the Russian missile launch by, obviously, Russia in the Black Sea. And then they said that this is the Islamic Republic showing their capabilities of basically attacking. So launching missiles from submarines. This is what the Islamic Republic are claiming. Let me show you the video. It's so funny. Look at. So this is from 2022, 3-4 years ago. Russian submarines. But the IRGC say this is us now. It's so embarrassing. Really? If you're gonna do fake news, be slightly more convincing. Don't copy the exact same video from Russian submarines in the Black Sea and pretend that this is your submarines in the Persian Gulf. These are just lies. But considering that you guys still have some relatively impressive missiles and everything else, you don't necessarily need to create fake news. Just show your own existing materials. But they are a paper tiger, obviously. So this is why they are trying to stall and buy time for the inevitable, which is the conflict, by just randomly doing fake negotiations with the Americans. Now, President Trump, a couple of nights ago on Air Force One, was talking about the whole operation against the Islamic Republic and the mobilization of the troops. So he said that we have plenty of time. If you remember Venezuela, we had to wait for a bit. The Venezuela mission, as I've been saying, it started in August behind the scenes and finished and actually was implemented in January. So it was about 4 months, 4 or 5 months that you had to wait, and people didn't know. And there were a lot of speculations. What's Trump doing with Venezuela and Maduro? And then eventually they captured him. So he says there's no rush. Let's watch this.
Mr. President, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner met with Iran's foreign minister today. You also had Brad Cooper there, the head of CENTCOM. A deal doesn't look like it's been reached yet. How long are you willing to wait?
A deal can be reached. Well, you have to get in position. We have plenty of time. If you remember Venezuela, we waited around for a while, and we're in no rush.
We're in no rush. So there is still more developments coming from the Israelis as well, which is kind of important to talk about, because in the next few days, there's going to be a major meeting between Netanyahu and Trump. They'll be meeting on Wednesday in Washington to discuss the next steps on the fight against the Islamic Republic. Obviously, the Israelis' message is quite clear that the limit, the boundary is, when it comes to the talks, is ballistic missiles. And also the support for the proxies, end the support for proxies. Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas, all the others, basically, Islamic Jihad. And both of those lines have been rejected by the Islamic Republic so far. And especially the proxies. The Iranian regime can't really say yes to that demand. It just undermines the whole existence of the Islamic occupation since 1979. Without the proxies, they are nothing. So, because they don't have a capable army directly themselves to be able to fight against anybody. The only country that they could fight against theoretically is basically Pakistan, and that's not even a real country. But the Israelis have now confirmed that the IDF are now prepared to attack the Islamic Republic. They're just waiting for the perfect opportunity, obviously, especially in the next few days, in the coming week, as we have apparently the second round of negotiations, which they can't really be called the second round because the first round was not actually the first round. They weren't really talking about anything. So if this time there's no progress, then obviously the Israelis might have to step up and accelerate their plans. This is why they are now discussing the details with the Americans so that they are fully coordinated with each other. Meanwhile, in terms of the Americans and the deployment of the military, we now have multiple US Air Force aircrafts. We actually had more C-17 Globemasters, two more, and another oil tanker and a C-37B moving towards the Middle East. The C-37B ones, they are basically the executive transport aircraft. They're massive, and they also they tend to take generals and leaders of the military if they have to, senior officials. But they are repositioning quickly in terms of the existing troops in the Middle East and the ones who are joining them at this point. So you had 112 C-17s that were heading towards the Middle East already over the last day or two. 17 or 18 more on their way as well. You had USS Abraham Lincoln, which is operating in the Arabian Sea. Iran is within strike zone range technically, and they also have refuelers, quite a lot of them at this point, and they have nuclear monitoring flight detection, essentially, so that they are able to detect nuclear activity flying over the Middle East as well. So there is still more that needs to be done in terms of the mobilization, but things have definitely accelerated over the last 3 to 4 days in terms of the Americans. Most of it has been the air defense systems, the THAADs and all the others, Patriots, to be able to protect the US bases as well as Israel. I think most of it is to protect it symbolically and literally to protect the US bases in the Persian Gulf Arab countries, because this is probably one of the conditions after what didn't happen 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, when President Trump was going to do an airstrike on Iran. He pulled out last minute. The Arabs were not happy, so he has to reassure them that don't worry, we will protect every single country, UAE, Bahrain, Oman, everybody, and Qatar. Obviously, there's an air base there as well. So they have to basically increase the air defense systems capabilities to basically tell the Arabs, calm down, just go count your money, go play with your oil, everything's going to be fine. But it's still going to be complicated anyway. Try to keep them quiet. Having said that, there is also the reaction from the foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi again. The whole day is all about him, apparently. So after Oman, he decided to go to Qatar to hang out with his boyfriends in Doha. And Abbas Araghchi did an interview with Al Jazeera. He also spoke at the Al Jazeera forum. And he said that the negotiations on Friday were primarily on nuclear and nothing else. Now that's the first lie, because there were no negotiations. You didn't talk about any of the points. You were talking about the structure of the negotiations. That's it. And but he did repeat that zero in uranium enrichment is actually irrelevant in the negotiations because we're going to do it anyway. He also said that we are ready to agree to any deal that will reassure others that enrichment in Iran will happen regardless of anything else. If you basically admit that the Islamic Republic should have nuclear, then you can negotiate. I mean, that's literally the whole point of the negotiations, but I don't understand what he's talking about. He also said that on the ballistic missiles, that this is a defensive issue. Apparently, the Islamic Republic need ballistic missiles for defense. An offensive weapon for defense. No, you have air defense systems for defense, not ballistic missiles. And he said they're not subject for negotiations, even in the coming week. So it's not really a good sign. Israelis are going to push hard on that. And saying that the Islamic Republic military will be attacking the American bases and every single Arab country. At the same time, sitting in Doha saying, we don't have a problem with the Arab countries, but we will be hitting the American bases in the Arab countries, which is kind of funny because I don't think they're going to actually care about his rhetoric. There is a couple of other things in terms of Doha. I'm going to show you a video, but in the live chat, you have, someone says, I hope your dad is okay. Thank you very much. President Isaac Herzog is visiting Sydney tomorrow. Watch this space. Pray the commies stay away. Just wanted to raise awareness that the church was firebombed in Melbourne. Oh my God. But the arrested man's identity isn't being released. Surprise, surprise. Let's quickly go to Doha and the foreign minister, because he made a speech at the Al Jazeera forum talking about how Israel has an expansionist project. Let's go.
Israel's expansionist project requires that neighboring countries be weakened militarily, technologically, economically, and socially, so that the Israeli regime permanently enjoys the upper hand. Under this project, Israel is free to expand its military arsenal without limits, including weapons of mass destruction that remain outside any inspection regime.
It's quite interesting because they could have used this rhetoric a while ago, but I don't think they were actually even thinking about what else they could use in terms of propaganda, obviously. There's so much you could say about Israel. If you're an enemy of Israel in the Middle East, like there's probably, there's so much you can say about Israel without creating theories. But I'm not really sure why they haven't even tried to point out the right problems or the flaws or weaknesses. They tend to just talk about how the Jews are using black magic and the space lasers and whatever. Like, just I can give you a list of things if you want to criticize Israel on, but they tend not to be that smart to think about that. He is mini Oh yeah, minister. It's a mini foreign minister. Love it. God bless Maya. You've been a trooper for weeks, for years. Years, yeah. Now, let's quickly also talk about the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I'm not exaggerating. As you guys know, I do not exaggerate. I'm very chill all the time. But the former foreign minister of the Islamic Republic and a high ranking figure in the regime, Ali Akbar Salehi, made a speech in Tehran while he was on a panel, and he said that the lion and sun emblem, the original flag of Iran, the actual symbol, the lion and sun, which goes back to thousands of years, basically, and obviously the days of Cyrus the Great, way before Islam and Momo going after 6-year-olds, about waiting until they're 9. He says that this lion and sun symbol belongs to Islam and the Islamic Republic, but others are randomly using it. Just watch this with English subtitles. Let me see if you can take it seriously.
خواسته بودم از دوستان یا چیزی من 7-8 ماه سعی کردم وقتی که رفتم ایران شناسی دیدم این آرم ایران شناسی خیلی مناسب نیست گفتم یه آرم مناسبی رفتم سراغ شیر و خورشید پرسیدیم آقا این شیر و خورشید بالاخره مال ماست یا نه گفتم بله هنوز جمهوری اسلامی مالکیت این آرم را دارد چون که دیگران اومدن در صحنه بین‌المللی این شیر و خورشید رو بردارن ایران گفته نه خیر این هنوز هست خب ما گفتیم برید بنویسید سوابقش رو در بیاریم اینا بعدم دیدیم فلسفه شیر و خورشید از حضرت علی و خدا و دین و فلان و همه اینا خب ما یه شیر و خورشیدی دادیم حالا دارن دیگران استفاده میکنن دست که مال ماست این هویت ایرانی اسلامی رو آقای دکتر باز هوشمندانه ازش پاسداری بکنیم
hang on. Wait, this is important. Watch this. Like, just I'm going to pause here. What is this nonsense? Find out his history, right? And then it says, then we saw the philosophy of the lion and sun that comes from Imam Ali, who was related to Momo in the 7th century. 7th century Islam. So Islam basically is behind the lion and sun, not the Persians. It's hilarious. Also, if it's yours, if it belongs to you, how come you haven't been using it for the past 47 years? That is a fair question. Suddenly you are very defensive about the lion and sun flag, the symbol, right? You literally removed it from the flag, removed it and replaced it with your Allah nonsense. But yeah, apparently we have to take these guys seriously. So, but let's talk about actual Iranians, real Iranians. One of our sources, obviously during the uprising, managed to escape via Turkey because the Islamic Republic was hunting him down as apparently the leader of one of the leaders of the uprising, Rayan Amiri. He has a message for us and for, of course, the American leadership and the Israeli Prime Minister. Let's just quickly go to that. Just a heads up, he's got photophobia, so it's like light sensitivity, dry eye syndrome. Basically, if he's exposed to bright light, he has to wear tinted lenses. So the reason he's wearing what appears to be sunglasses indoors is not because he's trying to be cool. I'm the cool one. It's because of his photophobia. Let's go.
Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Amiri. I have recently just fled Iran, my homeland, because the regime identified me as a leader of protests in my home province, Mazandaran province, and my hometown, Sabatkou, which is the hometown of the Pahlavi dynasty, the founders of modern Iran. Look, I have a message for the President of the United States as a person who has been inside Iran just a few days ago. And I have a message to the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is currently the most popular foreign leader inside Iran because of his actions, because of his decisiveness in the face of this brutal terrorist regime. President Trump, as our Shah, His Majesty Iran's exiled Shah and national leader, Reza Shah Pahlavi II, said, "The only acceptable deal is one thing. It's the absolute surrender of the Islamist regime in front of the Iranian people. It's not you going to Oman or to Qatar or to any place, shaking hands with the regime murderers, giving legitimacy. You promise a lot, and you should keep your promises. Otherwise, why would you think that Iranian people would think of you different from what Jimmy Carter was or Obama was? They wouldn't. They will think of you like that. Your legacy will be done when it comes to Iran. The Iranian community, both inside and outside, will despise you, Mr. President. It's the hard fact. If you don't keep your promises, you promised and you have a responsibility. You said yourself that you are locked and loaded. Don't forget about this fact that you said something bad. You said that you have rescued the Ayatollah dictator, the Ayatollah chief supreme terrorist from a miserable death. You held back the Israeli leader from taking out the most dangerous terrorist on this planet, who is waging war at almost every other country in the Middle East, creating chaos. The Ayatollah dictator Khamenei. You said it, that's on tape, that you've rescued this guy from a miserable death. It's not acceptable. Iranian people once, especially during your first term, they respected you as the most popular foreign leader inside Iran because you took out Soleimani, one of the chief oppressors of the Iranian people. And they admire you for that. But once again, another time you become president of the United States and what you do is, what? Dealing with this regime, negotiating with this regime. This is not acceptable. You must stop that immediately and support the Iranian people and become what you are. Become the great President Trump that you are and you deserve. And I have also a message for Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, who did a lot of things for Iranian people. Unlike President Trump, he, a few months ago, attacked this regime and took out, of course, President Trump, participated, but, he brags about helping Bibi, but he said on tape that he rescued the Ayatollah from a miserable death. Bibi helped us. He took out, he terminated, eliminated our oppressors. Thanks to Bibi, a lot of oppressors in Iran are dead. The regime is at weakest. We need you, Bibi. Again, Israel needs you. Iran as a whole, as the true Iran, as the Iranian people, as the Iranian Shah, we need you. As a foreign ally, we need you. We, the Iranian people, need you, and Israelis need you to take action. You must act now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of impatient anger among the Iranian community right now. Having said that, the issue of geopolitics goes beyond that, and it's not about words. It's not about what President Trump says or Prime Minister Netanyahu says. It doesn't really matter whether they say I like you or I hate you. Neither matters. Whether President Trump says I saved Khamenei, or whether President Trump says help is on its way, it doesn't matter. That's not how geopolitics works. It's about action. It's about seeing the action and then judging it based on whether it happens or it doesn't happen. It's not about words. And obviously when it comes to geopolitics, and especially international diplomacy, most of the things that you hear is not what it appears to be, because why would you? If life was that easy, then obviously everything will be simple. If, for example, I would say, okay, now I'm a leader, I now want to, I don't know, go do this, something. That's not really how it works, because I can't tell you I'm about to do that. So I have to tell you I'm about to do something else in order to do that. And obviously there's a lot behind the scenes that is still happening anyway. In terms of the action itself, as I said, it all goes back to the mobilization of the troops and the creating legitimacy for the conflict. President Trump obviously is there's also an inner conflict inside the Trump administration, which is that Trump doesn't want to be seen as someone who starts wars. And that makes it slightly difficult, obviously. But based on everything else that we've been dealing with, there is an issue of using strength to aim towards peace or ending wars, and that's all narrative. But every now and then you can see that President Trump is not an isolationist, and President Trump is not a warmonger either, and he's practical. So at times he's dropped the bomb, at times he hasn't attacked. When it's right he does it, when it's not right he's not doing it. And obviously it doesn't mean that people like him don't make mistakes. Same with Netanyahu, same with any other world leader that you've had. Jimmy Carter is a perfect example. In 1979, he made the worst move ever possible by trusting the Ayatollahs, by backing them to take over in Iran. That was terrible. But again, you have to judge based on what is happening. And what is happening is a mobilization of the troops. If President Trump at this point had said, you know what, we're not getting involved, despite what I said, withdraw everybody and just leave Iran alone, leave the Islamic Republic alone, then yes, that would be a massive U-turn. But that's not what's happening, and that is not, it's still, there's an ongoing conflict, and the negotiations are important to happen because they are fake negotiations. It's important to create legitimacy, but also trap the IRGC. But obviously when it comes to normal people, they don't care about that. Normal people are like, I don't care, just bomb. But that's not really how it works when it comes to grown-up real world. Now, I wasn't aware Captain Birdseye was from Iran. Look at him in his lovely white uniform. Oh, the small boat thing, yep. I just heard during the Sunday pro-Iranian protest that the Crown Prince will address the Munich Security Conference. Yes. We are aiming to get to Munich, Tousi TV, next Saturday, next Friday. So we'll be there throughout the weekend and report, hopefully, live from Munchen. Us in reporting yet the George H.W. Bush and Harry S. the Truman carrier groups have gone dark in the Central Command area. Just saying. I don't have confirmation on that, but we'll double check. Ivan says, unexploded, I call BS. Oh yeah, the bombs. What is in Ayatollah's shirt pockets? If that's a gun, he sure didn't figure out how he would pull it out. Well, was one of the photos showing your pockets. Amazing. And let's just see. Also, there's a very good comment. Trump is not starting a war. He will be finishing the 47-year war that Jimmy Carter started. We, the US, owe it to the Iranians, the surrounding countries and allied countries peace afterwards. The Americans don't just owe it to the Iranians or the allies. The American leadership owes it to the Americans, because American citizens have been killed and kidnapped and wounded over the last 47 years because of the Islamic Republic. But obviously supporters of the IRGC, including Tucker Carlson, who hate America, they don't care about that. Even if more Americans get killed by the Islamic Republic, it's in the interest of people like Tucker Carlson and the state of Qatar for them to continue to exist, to continue the legacy of Jimmy Carter. Now, I worry that the US doesn't have the firepower in the region to topple the government. In the Gulf War, the US had almost 700,000 troops, 6 carriers, 1,900 aircraft. So that's not how it works. Okay. All right. It's not about firepower. Number one, the American empire is the most powerful empire, military empire throughout history. Compared to any other force on this planet right now. If the Americans wanted to, if theoretically they want to, they can send all the troops, actually just a percentage of the troops that they have around the world, invade Iran, go in, it will take a while, it will take a few months, invade it, bring down the regime. The problem is not how many soldiers you have in the Middle East. It's the size of Iran, and it's the shape of Iran. There's still a lot of mountains, there's still a lot of weird things. It's not an easy climate to deal with, but throughout history, we've seen that in order to bring down dictatorial regimes, you don't necessarily have to invade the whole land. You bring down the structure and the leadership, and it's done. Now you're in charge. You've seen that in Baghdad in 2003. It took about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So that's that. It doesn't really matter about the number of soldiers. It's about the capabilities, because we are not in the 1990s anymore. We're not even in the 2000s anymore. The capabilities that weapons and bombs now have in order to bring down the structure and the leadership, and obviously the military leadership and everybody else, you don't need to send soldiers, put boots on the ground. You will need to do that afterwards in order to keep protection. That's it. And but obviously the American empire, as the world police, they've literally built this whole structure around the military, the US military, because they're in charge of the world. The American military, the American empire runs the world. And this is the moral obligation that they created after the fall of the British Empire, because it used to be the British Empire, now it's the American side. Because if the Americans don't do it, somebody else will, and it will be the likes of China. You don't really want China to be the world police. That's the problem. Seems Trump is looking for the right type of cheese to bait out the rat. Tousi the Great, here a few shekels and love and support. Thank you for the shekels. Praying for the regime change in Iran and the UK. Regime change in the UK will be a terrible idea. But change of government, yes, that would be good. Where is Pezeshkian? He disappeared. We don't know where the president is, but well, he's in Tehran, but he hasn't really been public much. He's been posting on social media, but it's all about Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister these days. What is the point of having a president? It's pointless. But my mustard shekels, President Trump will keep the talks, and as soon as the IRGC say no, then Israel will strike first and the US will join. Yeah, I mean, there's not going to be a deal. We know that. There's not going to be a deal. And the Islamic Republic have already basically said no. The reason their no doesn't count as a no is because the negotiations haven't actually technically started. Because Friday wasn't actually negotiations. So the moment both sides declare, when they sit down, declares that this session is officially the talks, then no in that session is a no. You've rejected the deal and you're done. The Israelis are on standby because they know that the Islamic Republic will not say yes to removing the ballistic missile. It's not going to happen. Israel will hit regardless. And obviously they are coordinating with the Americans, and it's just a matter of time. Video topic idea. Video topic idea? We don't do video topic idea. YouTube option for don't recommend channel, not available for mainstream Democrat propaganda channels. YouTube option for don't recommend channel, not available. I'll read that later to figure out what that means. Trump is dealing with the psychopaths and not just one country. He's not going to the market for bananas. Adam says military channels saying portions of the Iraqi forces have surrounded 2 US bases in support of the IRGC. I will verify that. I can't confirm that yet. What's an a-hole for not wanting to charge in with no thought and create Iraq to... Yes. That's the correct way of seeing the situation. Those who are saying, let's just go into Iran. Let's just bomb Iran. You got to think about it. Firstly, you don't want to create another Iraq, not the Iraq situation in terms of vacuum of power, because that's not going to happen in Iran anyway, but in terms of the complete mess and the number of casualties, and also in terms of casualties from the American side and the failure. The problem with the Islamic Republic, even compared to Saddam in 2003, is that they have things to use to retaliate badly against Israel and all the others, and also against their own people. You don't want to start an attack and give enough time to the IRGC to start launching crazy things on their own people either, because when they get desperate, they're going to hit everybody, including Iran. So you have to have a proper plan. You can't just say, let's go, let's attack. No, don't just go. And when it was about to happen 2 weeks ago, I was panicking. We reported live. We were literally minutes away from the airstrikes by President Trump. And then I was like, this is a terrible idea. And I'm so glad he pulled out last minute. I was like, thank God for that. That would have been a terrible idea. You can't just drop bombs on the IRGC bases and the leadership and say, well, it's done. We did that during the 12-day war. What did that do? So you can't really do that. You have to have a proper plan. And obviously you need to have the first wave and second wave and third wave of attacks. It can't just be dropping bombs. You also eventually need to send out some special forces to drag people out. Just give the people of Iran the tools and that they kick Khamenei out. Again, it's not like a video game. It's complicated. Iran is complicated. It's not like a room. It's not like a playground where you just drop things. Like, here you go. Here's a pistol, water pistol. You use it against the other kid. That's not really how it works. Literally, there's like 90 million people who've been kidnapped. They've been held hostage by the Islamic Republic in a completely isolated country that don't let you in. So you can't really do anything in that way to help them. In order to help them, you need to first bring down the structure and the leadership, and then you can go in. I'm watching the chat go nuts about POTUS not moving fast enough. People don't get it. People don't understand how military works or geopolitics. Henry says, these things take time if you want success. Troop movements, the right assets relocated. These keyboard warriors make me laugh. I know. Ignore them. Only fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Maybe Trump are waiting to after the Super Bowl because of sleeper cells in the US. No. They got bigger things to worry about than things like Super Bowl or Ramadan or the other things people were talking about. Someone says, it's highly unlikely that unexploded bombs would be there, as the blast of one would have set another off, even if it had failed to explode independently. Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of the other, well, the people were experts of operations. They also said the same thing. If you use one or two and neither explode, then yes, you could have unexploded bombs. But it's highly unlikely. I think the foreign minister is talking nonsense. Are there allies helping with this conflict? Yes, so there is a coalition. The United Kingdom, Israel, US. The United Kingdom's role will be defense, same as Jordan, UAE, Azerbaijan, and unofficially Saudi Arabia. Those guys will not help with the offensive strategy, but they'll help with the defensive part. So if the IRGC hit, they would shoot down their missiles and their drones. But what the Americans are creating slowly in the region with all the bases, at the aircraft carriers, so that there's little need for the Arabs to get involved to spend their money, basically, because the Americans will be there to protect everybody, including their own bases. And that is supposed to be the point of this. Anyway, we are going to take a break and come back. And I think there's also a situation with Israel, which will come back later on. Also, quick updates. In the United Kingdom, the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, Morgan McSweeney, has officially resigned. We'll talk about that later as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya Tousi, and we are the media.